Hey family, welcome to Create the Life That You Deserve. My name is Stacy Burrell, founder of the Motivational Institute, where passion and purpose will always find you. I'm really excited to share the message that I have with you today, and I pray that this information blesses you. So, my intention, let me start with that first, is that you expand your awareness. My intention is that you see yourself through the eyes of Source, that you see yourself through the eyes of God, that you start to believe in your purpose, that you start to build passion and excitement around your life and starting where you're at right now. My intention is that all this energy right here is translated to you. And if you have a bunch of energy and you're excited, I pray that this information sticks with you so that you can bless somebody else with this same content, right? So in this space that we're in right now, the first thing that I want to do is I really want to just acknowledge where we're at. The last few years have been very challenging for all of us. We all have experienced some type of trauma. And the one thing I want to recognize is we might be bringing pain into this space. I know I am. We might be bringing in grief, loss, disappointment, frustration, anger in this space right now. And we're human, so we're going to feel emotions. We're supposed to. And I really want to honor that. And I want you to honor where you're at in your journey right now. One thing that I do want to encourage you to think about is that pain has purpose. Eric Thomas talks a lot about pain, and he said, at the end of pain is a reward, right? The process is always challenging. There's going to be ups and downs. But if we're in pain, we might as well get something out of it. We might as well figure out a way to use it to help us advance because there's purpose in it. And it's all about our perception. So last year I had some really major health challenges. I had major surgery. I lost my aunt. I'm just naming a few things that I'm bringing into the space right now. But what I decided to do towards the end of last year was I said, I'm coming for 2023, right? I'm coming for it. And I'll tell you why when I go into my principles, because I don't want to get ahead of myself. But the first thing that I really wanted to do was just thank you for being here, acknowledge where you're at, and know that I am doing the same. And I want you to understand what my clear intentions are in the time that we have together. So grab pen, grab paper, grab something to drink, because I'm going to be providing a ton of information. So who am I? Who is Stacy? I am a woman, a Black woman, raising 2 children. I have a full-time job. I started a business for myself right before the pandemic hit, which I almost gave up on. I'm not going to lie to you. But God wouldn't let me give up on it. So here I am. I'm a content creator, which as you can see, that's what we got going tonight. And I'm a capacity builder. Capacity within myself and capacity within the people that I come in contact with and the organizations that I work with. So I really am on a mission to transform my life and to help you transform yours as well, praying that that also helps other people transform. So that's the legacy that I want to leave behind, right? Is that it's my job to be a steward over the gifts, the skills, the grace, everything that God has allowed me to have and see and experience. I have a responsibility to do something with it. I do. And so do you. So we're going to dive right into this. Again, grab your pen and paper. So I'm going to be providing some principles to you. What I want you to know first is this about information. So whether you're listening to a podcast, watching something on YouTube, in a training at work, wherever you're at, when you're presented with information, you're not always going to agree with everything. I want you to know that. So it's kind of like being at a buffet. When you go to the buffet, I'm sure you have your favorite food. I'm a big Mexican foodie. I love tacos, chips, salsa, guacamole, the whole thing. So if that's what's at the buffet, that's what I'm going to. I'm stacking my plate up with that, right? Because I love it. But I also will stack things on there that I haven't had before and try something new. If it's something I know that I have resistance to, I just don't want it, I just don't like it, I just don't put it on my plate. And I want you to view this time tonight as the same thing. There may be something that I say about spirituality, religion, some professional development, philosophies, anything that I say. And there might be something where you're like, that's not so much for me. That's fine. I want you to stay with me. Just don't put it on your plate. All right. So I want you to stack the deck in your favor so that you win, so that you succeed, and so that you have momentum. Because when we have too much resistance, we don't have the momentum that we need to break through. And that's what this time is really all about. So before I get into these principles, I do want to ask you a question first. And first, let me mention, there's so many influencers that I am a collection of. One of them is Mel Robbins. And I heard her ask this question to an audience that she was speaking to. And she said, what's your next chapter? If your life is a book, and here we are, 2023, what's next for you? And guess what? You're writing it. You are the author, you are the producer, you're the actor, you backstage people, you all of it. What's next for you? I want you to think about that. Think about what it is that you want out of life. What do you want? And we'll talk about that. I'll get ahead of myself, but we're going to talk about goals as well. And we're going to dive into that a little bit deeper. So the first question that I want to ask you in creating the life that you deserve is this. Do you believe that you can have, do, or be anything that you desire? Do you really believe that? If you say yes, then great. If you're like, I don't know, I'm not sure, or absolutely not, right? Just be honest with yourself. There's no right or wrong. There's no test. What I want you to understand about this is we need to acknowledge our belief system. We need to acknowledge what we believe about ourselves. What do we believe about the world around us? What do we believe about other people? And what is a belief? A belief is just the thought that you keep thinking. Abraham Hicks said that. She said a belief is just a thought that you continue to think. It's just a thought that you think a lot. It's just a practice thought. And she said many of us, the problem is we are harborers, right? We are like gatekeepers of so many thoughts that are unproductive, thoughts that do not serve us. And many of our thoughts are negative thoughts about what we can't do, who we can't become, what we can't achieve. And a lot of those thoughts are not even our own. Because where does that come from? I was listening to Ed Milet, and he was talking about self-esteem and confidence. And he said, when you're a baby, you don't have these negative thoughts about what you can do. You don't have these negative thoughts about yourself. You think you're amazing, right? We start to develop these thoughts in our environment. Most of this comes from other people telling us who they think we are. And then we grab a hold onto it and we anchor in. So I want to ask you, what do you believe about yourself? And if you don't like your belief, change it. Because it's just a thought that you continue to believe, which means you can change it. You can rewrite your story. You can write your own story. That is within your power and your control. Okay, so think about your beliefs and the whole process of that. Let's get into our first principle. And they're not in any order, particular order. So let's start with the first one. Number one, stop making excuses. No more excuses. If I had a t-shirt right now, you know what it would say? Straight out of excuses. because I am. I'm tired of excuses. Are any of you just like sick of yourself when it comes to excuses? When it comes to setting a goal and year after year after year, you're not achieving it, you're putting it off, or it's the same goal every year? Are you just sick of yourself? Are you in your own way? Stop making excuses. Because, spoiler alert, there are none. None that are justified. There's no excuses. Right now, we are living in a technology age. I mean, right now, I'm in the United States. Okay, so I can just speak to this country because I don't have all the experience of what it's like to live in other places. But right now, in the US of A, there is absolutely no excuse for you to transform your life. This is a technology age. All the information that you need is on the internet. It's on YouTube. People are putting stuff on the Facebook channel. We got social media. We got TikTok, right? We have all these platforms just loading us with information. People who are getting successful and showing us how they did it. And then there's a good old fashioned book. We can go to the library and be in the 3% of people in the United States who actively use the library with a library card. We could do that because guess what? There's tons of information there. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's already been invented time and time again. We just need to access that information and utilize it. But information alone doesn't change nothing. As you can see, right? It changes nothing unless we use it. Unless we become wise, unless we choose to think, unless we choose to create. Because information alone is just useless. You just be a person who knows a lot of stuff, but don't do nothing with it. Wisdom is the application of the knowledge. How are you going to apply what you learn and what you know? I pray that you become wise with the information that's being provided today. So when we stop making excuses for ourselves, we take accountability for our actions. We take accountability for everything, the good and the bad, the ups and the down, the successes and the failures, all of it. And then if I'm taking accountability for myself, if I'm not making excuses, I can understand my role in it. And then I can find my way out. But if I'm constantly blaming my parents, blaming my spouse, blaming my kids, blaming the president, blaming the government, blame just all these blames, right? I have lost my power to change. I am now a victim instead of a victor. And my whole goal is that you take your power back. This is the choice that you have. You either going to become a victor or a victim. Which one would you choose? Which one do you want to be? If you want to be a victor, you take the responsibility for where you're at in your life right now so that you can change it. Because you have that power. I listen to Clark Kegley a lot. And one of the things that I heard him say in one of his podcasts or YouTube videos was, a lot of us can give advice to other people on how to transform their life. But the question that he asked was, what advice would you give someone else about your situation right now? So if somebody came to you right now and said, hey, I'm having this problem at my job, or I'm having this problem with my kids, or I'm having this problem with my spouse, or whatever it is that your challenges are in your life, if they came to you with that stuff, what type of advice would you give them? What type of advice would you give? And whatever that advice is, I want you to take it. Take your own advice. Eat off of your own plate. Utilize that to make yourself great. Put your oxygen mask on first and feed the giant inside of you. So what advice would you give someone else about your current situation? I love that, right? So there's no more excuses. That's the first principle. Water time. All right. Number 2, in order to create the life that you deserve, we must develop rituals and routines. So what is a ritual? A ritual is basically a set of behaviors. It's something that you do continuously over time, consistently over time, and it develops a habit. A habit is something that we do so well, so often, that we don't even think about it. Joe Dispenza talks about this a lot, and he said, when we have habits, it rewires the brain. And now the body can do it better than the brain, which means when we have a specific routine, especially like good routines, positive actions, we don't even have to think about it. We don't even have to convince ourselves to do it, because over time, it becomes a part of our processing. So the reason that routines are so helpful to you is now you can use that brain power thinking about something else, because you have something that is like automatic. What is a ritual? A ritual is basically a part of our routine, but it's something that has a lot of meaning associated with it. So for example, I listen to Mel Robbins, as I mentioned, and Oprah Winfrey, right? Oprah said, and I'll never forget this, she said, the first thing that I do when I get out of bed in the morning, when my feet touch the ground, my hands touch the sky, I look up, crack my neck. I look up and I say 2 words, thank you. Simple. She said, I start every morning like that. Like, okay, that's easy. I can do that. So the second thing that I heard was from Mel Robbins. Mel Robbins said, as soon as she gets out of bed, she stands up, closes her eyes, and she decides who she wants to be that day. It's that mental imagery, right? I'm walking through it. I'm actually creating it. How do I want to look? How do I want to sound? How do I want to show up? What do I want to produce today? Right? How do I see that? What does it feel like, smell like, taste like? What do things, all of that, the whole experience. She said, because if we don't take a moment and decide who we want to be in that day, our old habits, that old belief system, the demands of the day will decide it for us. So again, these routines and rituals are giving you power, giving you control. Some people may say, you know what, it's just a struggle for me to get out of bed in the morning. I'm with you. Trust me. I'm not a perfect person, and I don't have perfect days. One of the things that I started doing in the morning is a 1-minute meditation. I don't get in no downward dog. I'm not stretching. There's no incense burning. I'm literally just laying in my bed awake. And I just lay there quietly, meditate for 1 minute. That's what I do. Quiet my thoughts. And that's how I start my morning. So I want you to think about something that you can be doing every day. And the reason I shared that story was gratitude. If you're struggling, the best way to stop that momentum, right, of the negative thoughts is to reflect on something that you appreciate. So as soon as you wake up, come up with 5 things that you appreciate in the morning. Maybe it's the sound of the cars that's going by on this main street. Maybe it's the coffee that I'm going to drink. The dog, right? I get to get outside, get some fresh air, walk my dog. Whatever that is, find things to be grateful for. Maybe you're grateful that you are breathing in the morning, right? That you have vision and eyesight, that you're able to stand up on your own 2 feet. There are people right now in the hospital that can barely breathe. There are people right now that are bedridden that cannot get out of the bed. And if they had one wish, that would be it. So we want to start milking the things that we appreciate about ourselves, about our environment, about other people. If it's too hard for you to think about what you appreciate about you. Think about some other people. Whatever it takes for you to get that momentum going. That's what I encourage you to do, right? So that's the second principle. Develop a ritual or a routine. Principle number 3 is all about identity. So this one is change your identity. I'm not saying you have to change everything, because you know what an identity is, and I'm going to lay this out. It's thoughts that turn into feelings, that become words, that you adopt as a belief. That belief now becomes your actions and your behavior. That's an identity. It all starts with a thought. It all starts with, what are you really thinking? And everything that you're thinking is a choice. Whenever you have negative thoughts, I want you to say to yourself, I'm choosing to think this. I'm choosing to look at my situation that way. Even when you have negative emotion, I'm choosing to be angry right now. I'm choosing to be frustrated right now. Use that type of language so that you can really own it, so that we can then change it. Because all the identity is a collection of thoughts, feelings, words, actions, beliefs, behavior that build our character. It all starts in the mind. And I'm not saying you have to change everything. You know you, right? You know those areas of your life where you don't have that positive momentum going. And we need to think different thoughts, because a belief is just a thought that we keep thinking. So think something different. Right. Number 4. And before I go into number 4, I want to tell this like a really quick story, because I normally would show a video, but I don't want to get caught up in copyright and all these other things. But I'm a huge basketball fan. Always have been. I'm from LA. My father played basketball, like we're just basketball sports family. And so I remember watching MJ growing up because my dad watched him all the time. And then when I got to be about 16, 17, I had the wonderful opportunity to meet Kobe Bryant and to watch him play, even before he got drafted. And I said, wow, I'm looking at him and I'm like, whoo, Kobe definitely going to the league, right? Just pure talent. And now when I'm thinking about it, because people used to make this comparison between Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. You remember, they did that all the time. In my opinion, what we saw early on was talent and skill. Michael Jordan didn't get drafted, right? Out of high school or any of that. He sat on the bench, right? He had to work really hard to get the championships. He had a lot of losses, right? He had injuries. He had defeat after defeat. It took him years and years and years and years, right? Nothing came easy. He had to work hard at this. He had to be the first one in the gym and the last one out. And he had to keep defeating the odds, right? Everybody's saying it's never going to happen. I will never forget watching The Last Dance on Netflix. If you haven't checked that out, it's just amazing. When he won that first championship and he said, I never stopped believing. And that's probably going to stick with me for the rest of my life. So why do I tell this story? Will Smith, I love Will Smith. Will Smith always talks about the difference between, or the misconception, he says, of talent and skill. He said talent is something that comes naturally, right? You don't have to really work at it. It's God-given. It's given to you. A skill is something that is developed over time. It's developed with hard work. It's developed with practice. It's developed with pain and diversity and try, all of that, right? He said, if you only rely, because you have talents, everybody does. But if you relied on your talent alone, he said, at some point, your talent is going to fail you. You need the skills. So the number 4 of these principles, creating the life that you deserve, develop more skills. And that could be personal, professional, any area of your life. Work harder on yourself. I'm trying to remember who said this. Oh, Jim Rohn said, work harder on yourself than you do on anything else. Work harder on yourself first. Develop who you need to be first. How do you do that, right? First, read. Find some material that you enjoy. Read. Listen to podcasts. Listen to YouTube. Positive things on YouTube. Find people that you gravitate to. I have a long list of folks in my playlist. Eric Thomas, Jim Rohn, John Maxwell, Pastor Teray. I got some Joe Dispenza in there. Anthony Robbins, Mel Robbins, Oprah Winfrey, Michelle Obama, Zig Ziglar. I got Abraham Hicks in there. I mean, you just name it. It just goes on and on and on and on and on. Simon Sinek, woo, love him. Eric Thomas, did I say that? Yes. So there's so much out there for us to sort of emulate in a way. And there's so much information that you can really gravitate from these individuals. And then build up your supports. So there may be friends that you have, maybe groups that you have, maybe something like a coworker. Get mentors in areas. So let's just say family, for example. Someone may say, you know what? I'm just not the family oriented person. You know, I don't really do well with my kids. Like I want to be a better parent and this and that. Find someone I'm sure you know someone that's an amazing parent, right? Spend time with them. Watch how they interact with their kids. Ask questions. And then start to take on some of the things that you see, right? And make those subtle changes. Because we are a result of the people that we spend time with. And if I want to be a great parent, I need to hang around with great parents. If I want to be a better wife, or if you want to be a better husband, you should have people in your circle that are doing well at that. If I want to become a billionaire, then I need somebody in my top 5 that is financially sound, you know, that I can ask questions and get answers from. So make sure that you have support systems in place. And it doesn't take a whole lot of people. But I heard someone say, when you're thinking about income, right? I heard someone say that, okay, we're a result of the top 5 people that we spend time with, right, in our life. And he basically also said, let's say you're thinking about how much money you want to make or salary or whatever. He said, take the salary of those 5 individuals, combine it, and divide it by 5. And that's basically as high as you're going to go in that group. You know, because that's the influence that that group can have. Now, I don't know the research behind it. It's probably not absolutely accurate, but you get where I'm going with this, right? Surround yourself with people that are going to help you advance and get to that next level. It's okay to ask for help. So, like I said, we don't have to recreate the wheel. The wheel's already been created. Ask somebody for help. Ask somebody for support. If you need that. There's nothing wrong with that. Pride has no space or place in transformation. It just doesn't. It's not going to serve you well. Right? So don't be afraid to put yourself out there and be a little bit vulnerable. Okay, and then I also want you to be thinking about the value. I'm not sure if I gave you this. I didn't. So this is just extra. It's not a principle or anything. Hold on. So I want you to be thinking about your values. What are the things that you value when it comes to your family, when it comes to your home, your career? What do you value? So I was listening to Eric Thomas, and he said, there was a friend of his who said, man, Eric, like, I see how you operate with your family, how you operate with your wife. You guys have such a great marriage and a great relationship. Like, I want to have that too. And Eric Thomas said, okay, I told him everything that I do. And he went home and he did it. He started doing all these things. And then his friend came back to him and said, hey, man, it's not working. Like, I did everything you told me to do, and it's not working. And this is what Eric Thomas said to him. He said, it's not working because your values are not in alignment with your dream. Your values are not in alignment with what you say you want. Your belief system is not in alignment with your desire. Now, I added those things. That's not what he said, but I'm just breaking it down for you. So you can say, I want a better marriage. You can say, I want to make 6 figures this year. You can say, I want to be close and connected to my kids. But if your belief system says a man's not supposed to wash a woman's clothes or cook or do anything, that's a woman's job. If your belief system says, well, I shouldn't be the one to take on the responsibility to teach the kids this, this, and that, or I go out and pay the bills, that's my responsibility, I should get some respect, and my kids should just love me. Or if your belief system says, you know what, I grew up in poverty, or, you know, my mom made it by off of $40,000 a year, and that's fine for me too. Or only certain amount of people can make a certain amount of money. Maybe I don't deserve it, or I'm not worthy. So you get where I'm going with this, right? You desire one thing, but your beliefs are in conflict with those. So you're not going to get the results that you want. And you may even get the result that you want if you're just going through the motions. But if your heart's not in it, if you're not really invested, it's going to show up in the long run, right? It's going to be harder for you, or you're not going to reach that outcome. You're not going to have the outcome that you want to have. And it won't be easy. It'll be hard and challenging. And we don't want that. So I want you to think about your values and ask yourself, are my actions in alignment with what I value? And if not, let's make some adjustments. Okay. So now we're moving toward the 5th principle. Okay. This one's really important because you cannot live the life that you deserve if you don't take care of your body. Mind, body, spirit. Last year, I went through a lot with my health, and I think I value my health and strength more than I ever have in my life because I was down and frustrated. And it'd be days where I would just cry because I didn't know what was wrong with me. I was going to all these different doctors. I had blood clots. I just had like anemia and then arthritis, just all kinds of problems, right? And I had a surgery, last year. And so far, things are starting to look up. I've had some challenges and everything like that. But one of the things that I started to do was really just take control of my health. So yes, go to the doctor, get the test, do all of that. That's important. But take your power back. So what I decided to do is change how I eat, right? And I'm not going to tell you what to eat. I will tell you if you're really curious about vibration, and we'll talk about this, vibration and energy in your body. There are certain foods that raise your vibration, and there are certain foods that lower or slow down your vibration. Okay. So when you think about a vibrational scale, if you look one up, it's a chart, has different colors, and we are all vibrational beings. So this heart that's beating, we measure that through the vibration of it. So when we think about emotions like fear, anger, and grief, they're at the lowest point of the scale of vibration. Fear, anger, grief, pride, all those things are at the bottom. At the top level, which is like your vibration is high, full of energy, full of positivity, full of hope, right? All those things. Love, peace, joy, enlightenment. Now, what research has shown is that there's certain foods that raise and lower your vibration. Okay, so look into those higher vibrational foods. All right, so again, back with the mind. Sorry, my foot fell asleep. Come on, foot, I need you. I can't stand up without you. All right, so one of the things that I did, change my diet as best as I could. I'm not perfect, right? Eating more lean meats, fruits and vegetables, alkaline water. A big thing that I did was I changed the supplements that I was taking. So pretty much every vitamin that I take now is liquid. so that it absorbs into the body, into the cells, because some of you might be taking vitamins and your body might not be absorbing them the way they should. Also, there are combinations of foods that you want to eat with certain vitamins so that they absorb. So, so that they absorb. So just look into that. I will just quickly say what I'm taking. Vitamin D, D3, B12 complex, take chlorella, and I actually take chlorophyll liquid. I have a multi vitamin that I take. I have a cilantro and chlorella combination that I take, and it's like a few other supplements like magnesium. Magnesium was really big. So if you do research on magnesium, 90% of adults, actually it's like more than 90% of adults in the United States are deficient in magnesium. Did you know that? So I was just feeling worse. Like I was getting anxiety, mood swings, having a hard time focusing, remembering things. Like I was getting aches and pains, like all kinds of things were happening. And a lot of that shifted once I started taking the right dosage, which is like 300 milligrams or something like that of magnesium. And I have the magnesium with the brain support blend. So what I would do is go to your local health store. You don't have to buy everything on Amazon. Like go to a store where you can actually ask questions. I'm here in Las Vegas, and Pure Health is one of the stores that I go to. It's on Buffalo and the 95, like right next to Trader Joe's. The guy's name is Sean. He is amazing. Go to him and tell him what you're experiencing and what you need, and he's gonna hook you up. All right, another thing that I started taking, and then I'll segue into our last principle, is a probiotic. Not just a probiotic, prebiotic, postbiotic. So I want you to listen to this, and I hope that you're still with me right now. If you've been feeling a little down, you may have low levels of serotonin in your body. Serotonin is a hormone that the body produces that helps us feel good. It's a happy thing, right? You get a lot of serotonin, you're like, woo, happy. If you haven't been feeling too happy, you might have some low serotonin levels. Write this down. 90% of the serotonin that is produced in our body is produced in our what? What do you think? Take water on that. Where do you think it's produced? Drum roll. It's produced in the gut. Is the doctor going to tell you that? I don't know. Probably not. My doctor didn't tell me. I mean, shout out to the doctors. I love the doctors, but it would have been nice to know. So no, I didn't get that information, but it makes sense. So gut health and mental health are correlated. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be on prescription if you have a mental health diagnosis or whatever that is. But what I would say is get you a pre-post probiotic, try it for 30 days, or whatever type of other gut. There's other cleanses out there. There's other assessments and tests that you can do to test your gut, whether you got to poop in a little bag and send it off to the poop factory, wherever, whatever, it's worth it. My sister has done it for my nephew who has autism. And it's a great way to understand really what's going on in the gut in depth and see where you're at, right? There's so much resources out there. But the quickest way for you to do that is to do a gut cleanse and also that pre, post, and probiotic, right? Exercise. Please get out and exercise every single day. If you're over 40 years old, you need to get out and exercise every day. I don't care if it's 10, 15 minutes. Do some jumping jacks. Do some stretches. Oh, I'm going to stretch right now. Yep, that's good. Whew, rabbit's getting old. Anyway, get out and get some exercise. It's good for the mental health. Get to the gym. Make that a priority. Matter of fact, change your belief system on whatever you think exercise. Oh, I'm going to sweat my edges out. And I know I'm about to go to the gym in a minute. I'm going to be looking like Aunt Kizzy up in there. But that's okay. I'm going. And tomorrow, I live to flat iron it again. Get to the gym. Exercise. Even if it's just 15 minutes. Make that a priority. Keep your shoes in the car. Keep a change of clothes in the car. Walk during your lunch break. Somebody like, oh, I don't have the time. Okay, well, get off the phone during your lunch break and walk. Eat lunch while you go and get that 30 minutes exercise in. However you want to get it in, please make sure that you prioritize that. That is so, so important when we're talking about fighting things like high blood pressure, diabetes, cancer, all these other kinds of things. Let's keep our bodies physically in shape and strong and active. Do your part. It doesn't mean that these things aren't going to happen to you, right? But do your part. And find some things that you enjoy. So when we talk about raising our vibration, you might have to get out there and explore something new. Because I could ask you that question. What do you really enjoy? What do you do that makes you smile, that makes you giddy, that makes you laugh, that you can't wait to do every morning or once, when you get home? Is it painting? Is it cooking? Is it, what is it? Is it creating? Do you like to knit? Some people like to, car detailing, whatever it is, whatever brings you joy. What is your thing? And maybe you have to explore that. Okay, so that's a homework assignment of yours. It's like finding joy. What brings you joy? Is it home makeovers or DIYs? Because that was bringing me joy for a minute. Then I got tired and I was like, that ain't really as joyful as it used to be. So I found something else, right? So you want to do things you enjoy that make you laugh. When they say laughter is the best medicine, I'm not kidding. It is. Every single day we should be laughing. I don't care if you got to look at the same Kevin Hart comedy skit every day. Find something to laugh. Because guess what laughter does? It's going to raise that vibration quick, right? It's going to stop that negative momentum. Whatever is going on, it's going to stop it quickly, right? Because my whole goal is that we experience love, joy, peace, and enlightenment. We are all magnets. We don't attract what we want. We attract what we are. Someone on Super Soul Sunday said that on Oprah's channel. I forgot the guy's name. But he said, we're all vibrational beings. He said, we don't attract what we want. We can want something all day long. And we might every now and then attract something that we want, but we can't keep it. He said, we can only attract and keep what we are in alignment with vibrationally, right? So when I'm feeling good, mind, body, spirit, I'm going to attract those things. And those people and those things and those experiences are going to remain because of who I am and who I'm becoming. It doesn't mean that negative things aren't going to happen. But guess what? The higher frequencies win. So negative stuff's going to come, but you got the power to defeat that. Like throw a punch at it. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, so are we ready for the last principle? We're at number 8, right? I mean 6. So 5 was taking care of the mind, body, and spirit. Just real quick before I segue into this last one, I just want to share my belief system with you. I was raised Baptist. I was raised in the church. My mom went to a Baptist church. My dad was at non-denominational church. And I have so much respect for my parents. I have so much respect for my faith and my belief because it has helped me and shaped me to be the person that I am today. One of the things that I've learned to develop over the last few years is a respect for religion and spirituality as a whole. My whole goal is that I can connect with as many people as possible. And one time when I was teaching a class inside the correctional facility, one of the lieutenants who was a mentor of mine at the time, he said, you know what, Stacy? He said, I know you got a lot on your agenda and things you're going to talk about or whatever. He was like, but let me tell you what your job is. He said, it's your job not to leave anybody behind. It's your job to find a way to keep everybody connected. Ooh. Now, when you're thinking about religion and spirituality, like for me, I was just like, oh, how do I do that? And one of my friends, when I was working at Boys Town, he shared this with me. He said, we have to create a culture of honor. Whenever we're stepping into a space, let go of your agenda. I'm not going to go in there and say, hey, Jesus Christ died on the cross for your sins. You have to believe that because that's what I believe. Right? That's not influence. So my job is to come into this space, and hopefully this is what I'm doing right now, creating a culture of honor of where you're at right now, what you believe right now, and utilize that. If you have questions or thoughts about my faith or my spirituality or belief, we can always have a conversation, right? I love to share that. But it should not be something that separates us. It shouldn't. Love God, love yourself, love others. And there you have it. My concern is that we become better people. If your religion and your spirituality helps you become a better person, great. But that's what we should be doing, is becoming better and evolving. And then when other people see that transformation, they like, tell me a little bit about what you're doing and what you believe in. I might have to get in on that because that's the way Jesus worked. So what I've learned to do is embrace that. What I've found that has been really helpful for me is meditation, right? So slowing down my thoughts, meditating, getting quiet, and learning about other rituals and practices that people do to really connect themselves with God, right? And so I hope that that's something that I just wanted to mention that so that you guys can understand a little bit more about my intention in this space and in this time that we have. And research shows that when we have a belief in a spirituality, that we are more successful in life. We're happier, we're healthier, we have more longevity. That's just based on research, okay? So we're gonna move into now the final principle. And I'm gonna grab some water for the last time. I hope y'all not annoyed with me. Here we go. Woo. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna pause this because I wanna show you something real quick. Hold on. All right, and I'm back. Okay, so let me share this with you. First, I want to share a resource. So it's a book by Brian Tracy, and it's called Eat That Frog. And it doesn't have a lot to do with like principles that we're talking about right now, but one specifically is about time management and setting goals. And it's an amazing book that I've read. I've also gotten the workbook. And really the workbook is what helped me define my goals this year, to really write them out clearly with like objectives and timelines and stuff like that. So I took my goals to like the extreme this year. I have never in my 42 years set goals the way I did this year. Set an unrealistic goal. Will Smith says that all the time. He's like, why be realistic? Be unrealistic. Because there's people that were unrealistic, which is the reason why we have these lights on. You know, he said in the house, because somebody said, hey, you should be able to flip a switch and light should pop on in the room. And other people was like, well, you crazy. And they said, no, I'm not. Let there be light. Okay. So set some unrealistic goals. It's okay. All right. Get a little crazy. What we need is momentum. I think it's better for us to set 50 goals and reach half of those goals than for us to set 3 goals and we don't reach none of them. So get a little crazy with it. So let me give you some research on goals. So number 6 is set goals. Set unrealistic goals, crazy goals in multiple areas of your life. So let me give you some research first. Less than 3% of people in the United States have set a goal for themselves. That's just what the research shows. Only 1% of those individuals write their goals down. 1%. I'm in the 1. Booyah! All right, I'll talk about that. So 1%. So when we set a goal, remember we talked about serotonin being that hormone in the body that makes us feel happy and joy. When we set a goal, it releases dopamine. Dopamine is also a feel-good hormone in the body. And when we set a goal, it releases dopamine. But guess what? When we reach the goal and achieve the goal, it also spikes, right? And we get another hit, so to speak, there. So we get dopamine when we set the goal. We get dopamine when we achieve the goal. That's going to give us momentum. And that's what we need. John Maxwell said that momentum is a problem solver. He said, if you get a train and this is the wall and you put the train up against the wall, John Maxwell said that train ain't going nowhere. They said, if you back that train up and that train is going 100 miles an hour, what happens to the wall? Oh, the train is crashing through the wall. It's already down 100 miles down, right? Sometimes doesn't even realize that it hit a wall because it has so much speed. And that's what we need right now. We need speed, right? The universe responds to speed. We need momentum. We need all of those things. So we got to set some crazy goals. So number one, when it comes to setting goals, the first thing that we must do is decide what you want. What do you want? And I'm going to give you 8 areas to think about. You don't have to utilize all these. But I'm going to give you 8 areas, and I want you can take a piece of paper, fold a piece of paper in half, and then fold it in half again, and then fold it in half one more time. And then you should get 8 squares, right? You'll have 8 squares on that paper. So you got your 8. Inside of each square, just small, I want you to write these concept areas for your goals. Not in any particular order. We have health, and that's a combination of mental and physical. The next one is financial. Then we have spiritual. Then you have family. And then career, friends, so associates, social time, whatever you want to identify that as. And then you have the community/environment. And then the last one is your hobbies and your special interests, things that you like to do. So these are the 8 areas. And we're going to think about setting goals in each, at least one goal in each one of these areas. Some of you might be like, environment, how am I set a goal? Well, start drinking out of glass containers instead of plastic. Plant a tree. I don't know, get creative, right? Community, donate. So we have those concept areas, right? So now, step 2 in this is I want you to ask yourself 2 questions. And these questions have changed my life, have changed the game. You talking about being intentional and setting your intentions? Here it is. First question. I want you to ask yourself about the goal that you set in that area. Why do you want it? Why do you want it? Why do you want the healing? Why do you want the relationship? Why do you want the 6 figures or 7 figures or 10 figures? Why do you want a better relationship with your kids or your spouse? Why do you want to expand your work out in the community? Like, why do you want these things? Why? What's the reason behind it? And I want you to be brutally honest with yourself. There's no one else reading it. There's no one else. Nobody's judging you. It's a judge-free zone. Write it down. This is just shadow work. This is us really understanding what's going on inside of us, right? Don't betray yourself in this moment. Don Miguel Ruiz wrote a book called The 4 Agreements, and he said, based on the Toltec culture, he said, self-rejection is the highest form of sin. Self-rejection or self-betrayal, highest form of sin. Don't betray yourself. Be honest with yourself. Why do you want it? What's your intention behind it? You want it because other people say that you should have it? Do you want it to get a response or a reaction from other people? Do you want it because it looks and it sounds good and it gives you status? Like, what? You want it because somebody else had it? Why do you want it? Why? And then the second question is, what do you believe about it? What do you believe about it? So, for example, I want to make six figures. Okay, what do you believe about money? Do you believe that money comes easily? That there's an abundance of money, right, for you? Do you believe that you're worthy and you're deserving of these opportunities? What do you believe about marriage? If you were raised with a single parent, you might have a different belief system that's not lining up with what you really want. How do you view relationships? What does God say about the relationship? Like, how do you view spirituality and religion? How do you see it? What do you believe about it? Ask yourself those questions and take a deep dive into your goals and set some positive intentions, right? So that as you achieve these goals, you're on your path and not on anybody else's, because you're very clear about what you want and why you want it. You've set the stage. Caroline Myss said that people are off their path when they start to pursue a life that does not belong to them. There may be some things that you laid out in this goal, that stuff don't belong to you because it's not in alignment with your beliefs. It's not in alignment with your spirit. We're chasing the wrong things. Okay? And so once you do that, a little bit of shadow work, asking those questions, setting a goal in each of those areas, the next step, so step number 3, I think this will be, is take action. Take action. Matter of fact, when you print your goals out, so I've printed mine out. I don't know if you can really kind of see it, but you can see I have the areas on the side here, right? So I printed this out. I have 2 copies. One, I keep at my desk or in the house. The other one, fold up, keep with you at all times. Right here. Because when I start my day, I'm going to look at the goals. When I end my day at night, I'm going to look at the goals. Because I'm going to ask myself, okay, if I want to meet these financial goals, what do I need to do today? What phone calls do I need to make? Maybe you want to invest in stock and you don't know anything about it. Okay, well, who can I call to ask a question? What website can I go to just to get an inquiry, right? Or what bank account do I need to open? Like, just start there. What do I need to do today? If getting to the gym is hard for you because you don't have the right clothes or shoes or whatever, what do I need to do today? Do I need to go to Goodwill and get me something? What do I want to buy something fresh and look a certain way? Whatever that is. Set some positive intention to achieve that goal every single day. Do the small things, right? The small things. And keep your goals with you. I think it was Jim Rohn who said, after he had built some success for himself, his mentors asked him, how are you doing? And he pulled out his bank account statement and was like, I don't know, let me check. Let me see how I'm doing. You asked a good question. Right? So I think about that with my goals. It's like people ask me how I'm doing. I'm like, you know what? Let me see. You know what? I'm doing pretty good today. I made some progress here, 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 and here. Right? Momentum. You want to keep this with you. It's also accountability every single day. And when you do something like this, you'll probably achieve these goals in 6 months and you'll have to reevaluate it. But start attacking it. Just attack it head on and do the little things. Don't try to, I think Brian Tracy said that. Don't try to eat the well whole. Just take one bite at a time. And guess what? You are going to be uncomfortable. You are going to be challenged. You are going to be faced with some obstacles. Don't let that stop you. You keep going. You're going to be uncomfortable. Uncomfortable is the only way that we grow. It's the name of the game. Right? Ask Michael Jordan. We could watch a tape with him with all the highlights and all the rings and the champagne that's popping and kissing the trophy. But we don't get to see the blood, sweat, and tears, the injuries, the defeats, getting up 2 hours early, staying 2 hours late, right? Working hard, crying, missing out on family, travel, all these things. We don't see all that. You're going to be faced with things. It doesn't matter. Start attacking those things. And don't let that stop you, because fear does not stop death. It stops life. Somebody said that, and I don't remember who, but I'm going to give that person credit. Fear does not stop death, it stops life. So I'm landing the plane right now. I realize that this is our time. I want you to remember this about goals. Happiness should not be contingent on the outcome of the goal, right? I should not be waiting to experience joy and happiness once I have achieved these things. The joy and the happiness should come in the process of it. Like Eric Thomas says, we got to love the process, not the prize. And the whole goal here is progress. It's progress over perfection. The momentum that we gain from this progress that we're making is what's going to leave us feeling happy and fulfilled. And guess what? That's the goal. In all of those areas, happiness should always be the goal. Always. Right. So it's not about where we're going in life. It's not about that destination. It's about who we become in the process. Don't you want to change? Aren't there parts of you that you're just tired of? You make that change right now. And you continue, every time life hits you, you get up and hit back. As they say, fall down 7, get up 8. Get up. Find your why. And your why might change every single day. The reason for you getting up might be your kids, might be your family, might be your job, might be your community. It might be God. It might be you. These things may change every day. That's okay. Figure out your why. And once you figure out what that why is, I want you to anchor in on that thing, right? And don't let go. The final thing that I'll say here, and is actually a story that I want to share. And Wayne Dyer shared this story from Portia Nelson before she passed away. And they asked Portia Nelson to summarize her life. And they only gave her 5 index cards to do it. And she said this. She said, chapter 5 of my life. I'm sorry. She said, chapter 1 of my life. I walk down the street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it. I fall in. I can't believe I fell in here. It's terrible. And it takes me forever to get out. Chapter 2 of my life. I walk down the street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it. I fall in again. I can't believe it. It's a habit. And it takes me forever to get out. Chapter 3 of my life. I walk down the street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it. I fall in again. I know how I got here. It is my fault. And I get out quickly. Chapter 4 of my life. I walk down the street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it. I walk around it. Chapter 5 of my life. Finally, I walk down another street. Life is going to be challenging, friends. We're going to have our ups and downs. But I know and I believe that you can create the life that you deserve, the life that you desire, the life that's for you. But it may mean that you have to walk down another street. I pray that this information was a blessing to you. I pray that this information does not stay with you, but that it moves through you. I heard TD Jakes say that. So now you have a responsibility. If you're feeling inspired, if you're feeling motivated, share this information with someone else so we can continue to lift one another up, right? So we can continue to encourage people to look past their current situation, because that's what the enemy wants us to do. The enemy wants us to feel like there's nothing beyond where we are today, and that's a lie. There is so much more ahead of you than there is behind you. So again, my name is Stacy Burrell, founder of the Motivational Institute, where passion and purpose will always find you. And as you hear me say oftentimes, don't stop, don't quit, and don't give up. God bless.